Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Ridwan bin Johari. Today I want to present about assistant in audit. First and foremost, what is assertion? Assertions are claims that establish whether or not financial statements are true and fairly represented in the process of auditing. Assertions are an important aspect of auditing since financial statements cannot be held to a lie detector test to determine whether they are factual or not. Other methods must be used to establish the truth of the financial statements. There are three types of assertion. The first one is transaction level assertion. Transaction level assertion are made in relation to classes of transactions such as revenues, expenses, and dividend payments. Next, account balance assertion. Account balance assertion may apply to the balance sheet items such as assets, liabilities, and shareholders' equity. Lastly, presentation and disclosure assertion. It is the third assertion type that can fall under both transaction level assertions and account balances assertions. It relates to the presentation and disclosure of financial statements. Transaction level assertion, there are 5 under it, which is occurrence, completeness, accuracy, cut-off, and classifications. The first one is occurrence, which is transactions that are recognized in the financial records as having occurred. Next, completeness. Transactions that are completed and supposed to be recorded have been recognized in the financial statements. Next, accuracy. Transactions have been accurately reflected in the financial statements at appropriate amounts. Next, cut-off. Transactions that have been recognized in correct and relevant accounting time periods. Last, classifications. Transactions have been classified properly and fairly presented in the financial statement. Account balance assertion. There are 4 under it, which is existence, completeness, right and obligation, and valuation. The first one is existence. The assets, equity balances, and liabilities exist at the period ending time. Next, completeness. The assets, equity balances, and the liabilities that are completed and supposed to be recorded have been recognized in the financial statements. Next, right and obligation. The entity has ownership rights or the right to benefit from recognized assets on the financial statements. Liabilities recognized in the financial statements represents the actual obligations of the entity. Lastly, valuation. The assets, equity balances, and liabilities have been valued appropriately. Presentation and disclosure assertion have 4 under each, which is occurrence, accuracy and valuation, classification and understandability, and completeness. Occurrence. Transactions, events, balances, and other financial records have been occurred and are related to the entity. Accuracy and valuation. Transactions, balances, and other financial records have been disclosed accurately and at the appropriate valuations. Next, classification and understandability. Transaction, events, balances, and other financial records have been classified properly and presented in a clear manner that promotes understandability to the users of the financial statements. Lastly, completeness. Transactions, events, balances, and other financial records have been disclosed completely within the financial statements. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Muhammad Danish Akmal bin Zulkifli. So my group have been given topic about existence. Existence means that the asset and liability really do exist and there has been no overstatement. For example of the existence is by the inclusion of features receivable or inventory. This assertion is very closely related to the occurrence assertion for transaction. Any statement of inventory included in the financial statement carries the implicit assertion that such inventory exists as stated At the end of the accounting period, the assertion of existence applies to all assets or liability included in a financial statement. Okay. Example for situation of existence is a given set of audit procedure that may provide audit evidence that is relevant to a certain assertion but not to others. For example, inspection of record and document related to the collection receivable after the period end may provide audit evidence regarding both existence and valuation, although not necessarily the appropriateness of period end cut-off. On the other hand, the auditor often obtain audit evidence from different sources or of a different nature that is relevant to the same assertion. For example, the auditor may analyze the aging of account receivable and the subsequent collection of receivable to obtain audit evidence relating to the valuation of the allowance for doubtful accounts. Furthermore, obtaining audit evidence relating to a particular assertion, for example, the physical existence of inventory, is not a substitute for obtaining audit evidence regarding another assertion, for example, right and obligation. The auditor should consider the reliability of the information to be used as a audit evidence, for example, photocopies, facsimiles of film digitized or electronic document, including consideration of control over their preparation and maintenance where relevant. However, an audit rarely involves the authentication of documentation, nor is the auditor trained as or expected to be an expert in such authentication. Here we can see that Peragan Union Berhad has have a asset and equity liability that their company really do exist. That is Press Metal Berhad. Also, we can see that asset, equity, and liability really do exist in their company. So
The country of Pakistan is embroiled in a drama that hinges on when a particular font was introduced to the world, and the outcome could bring down the country's prime minister. The drama known as Fontgate all began with an investigation into whether the prime minister and his family are corrupt. It's part of a joint investigation that started up after the release of the Panama Papers. Remember that? That was the leak that showed how wealthy people around the world can use secretive offshore tax regimes. So, as part of the evidence-gathering process within Pakistan, the Prime Minister's daughter gave documents about her ownership of overseas properties. They were allegedly from 2006, but guess what? They were written in Calibri font. And as Fontgate would have it, it wasn't the default font on Microsoft until 2007. That means they could be forged documents designed to hide the truth about her wealth. But she's also tweeting the documents, proclaiming her innocence, because that's just what happens now, apparently. And it is true that Calibri was around as far back as 2004, but only as either a Windows pre-release product or as a separate download. The font's creator told Pakistan's leading English newspaper he is skeptical of when the deeds and such were written, saying, quote, "Why would anyone use a completely unknown font for an official document in 2006? Nothing has been decided yet, though the Pakistani opposition party is calling for the PM's resignation."
Okay. That's all from us. Thank you. Bye-bye.